Love that Dag and speak. Love that Dag.
That's on.
Is this, get all the beers out.
Are we doing cruise time? Are they called cruise time?
Hey, is it your turn to it?
Neil.
I thought you were supposed to say that.
Alfie has been working so to get back on schedule. Does that make sense?
Well, Michael.
Okay, let's go. Fire something on
That's me, Michael.
Oh, you know what he said?
Michael, are you up on this case here or what? Mike, come on.
All right, okay. All right. According to the UN Charter, do you think rebellion is an act of aggression?
Rebellion by the people in the same country, not by their own country.
Right, yeah. Scenario, right, a rebellion within a country by another element. Do you consider that an act of aggression?
It's not foreign intervention. So it's not.
Can you, Ron, can you direct her response? Is rebellion
I
an
just
act of
answered
aggression?
your question. You heard me.
Repeat the answer.
I said if it's within the same country, it's not foreign intervention, so it's not an act of aggression
Okay.
by another country.
So you're stating that rebellion in itself is not an act of aggression.
By the people in the same country.
So yes or
Against
no,
their own
please?
country.
Yes or
No.
Yes.
Direct your response, yes or no, please.
I just said no.
All right. What about is self-determination a right within the UN Charter?
Yeah.
All right. So then, wouldn't a country be in accordance with the UN Charter if it assisted in the process of self-determination?
No, because not if a foreign country comes in. You're talking about a rebellion within the country.
I'm not talking about rebellion, but self-determination. I'm saying, wouldn't a country be, if it's assisted in the process of self-determination, would it be in accordance with the UN Charter?
Self-determination means the own people determine what they want, not other people. So foreign intervention wouldn't be.
Could you calmly answer the question? It's not answering the question.
Can you speak up while you're at it?
Mr. Coleman, please repeat the question. Self-determination. If a country assists in the process of self-determination, is that in accordance with the UN Charter? That's the question. It's not rebellion. It's another thing.
I know,
Yes, sir.
but not by a foreign country now.
No.
All right, I yield the chair.
So you're saying the United States releasing the Philippines in 1948 was 1945 was an unjust act because they were helping them in self-determination?
1948 when they released.
It was July 4th. Helping.
It wasn't.
You call him as a diplomatic expert. He said it yesterday quite clearly.
I'm not an expert on the UN Charter.
Expert on the UN Charter. Exactly. We're discussing the UN Charter here. We're discussing.
You didn't say expert.
He didn't say expert. He admitted it.
Andrew.
Are you a lawyer? So you're speaking. No, Jeff, you're in charge. You can't pass it to the guy.
I can get up and hit you.
No, just count. Okay. So you're saying the United States releasing the Philippines in the 40s was an unjust act because we were helping them in self-determination?
In the 40s, they wanted
Objection,
their
making a moral judgment.
You already objected. It was overruled. Now, please, why don't we just hear the answer? Can you speak up to it? Oh, it's kind of hard to hear.
I said that situation has been going on for a long time, and the people themselves wanted self-determination.
So you're admitting that your first answer isn't
No,
unconditional.
the United States.
You're saying it.
Well, nothing is ever unconditional.
There we go. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. All right. According to the UN Charter, can the UN get involved in a country's domestic affairs?
In order to peace.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to introduce some evidence. Read into copy for the prosecution and
So check
I'm going to read it out, but it's up to you. Hey, Brian, I'll read the evidence. here's some views by you about getting involved in domestic affairs. You said it would indeed not only be against the letter and the spirit of the Charter of the United Nations to attempt to impose its will on domestic matters. Now, I repeat the question. Can the UN, according to its charter, get involved in domestic affairs?
It cannot get involved,
All right, thank you.
but it can keep peace.
Can you stricken the last remark? It's not in response to the question.
Yes, please answer the question. Because it was answered yes or no.
All right, now, is part of the aim of the UN, according to the Charter, to promote social progress and better standards of life and large freedom?
Yes.
All right, now, in the case of a domestic revolution, which is a domestic affair, and like you said, therefore, is not subject to UN intervention, the UN cannot provide social progress and better standards of life and large freedom, correct? Because it can't get involved.
It can't get involved.
All right, so now, if the Cuban Revolutionary Council at that time went to you as the UN, said that it's having problems within its country, could have you done anything to help it?
Cuban, I believe that in, they don't have it right here.
Please respond to the question.
I have it over there. I left them over there. But a minister from Cuba, I believe it was a minister, came to me like about 4 months before the actual Bay of Pigs, and he talked to me, but I didn't find it. Was sufficient. I didn't believe that it was sufficiently imminent or important.
Wasn't the Minister of Cuba Representative Castro?
I don't remember if it was exactly the Minister of Cuba, but somebody,
No,
a representative of Cuba, came to me, and I did not review the matter fully.
Answer the question. If a member of the Cuban Revolutionary Council, I'm not talking about a minister of Cuba, the other side, a member of the Cuban Revolutionary Council, the faction which was in revolution, came to you at that time, let's say 4 months before, and asked you for its help, would have you been able to give it, according to the UN Charter?
No, I can't work.
Okay.
I can't send two parts of the, two
All right.
groups in a country against each other.
Then wouldn't you agree, since that you can't always promote social progress, and you can't, if the goal of the UN Charter, the goal of the UN Charter is to promote social progress, and it can't get involved in domestic affairs, that sometimes the UN Charter can be in contradictory terms in certain scenarios?
It depends on what you think is social progress. In that
Objection is
case,
hypothetical, sort of severe, is it like a specification?
Once again, I'd like to say this is a diplomatic expert. I'm giving scenarios involving the UN Charter and certain laws of it. I have to have his interpretation of the UN Charter.
As a president, you wouldn't let us use the Bay of Pigs scenario when Cordell Hull was on the stand. I don't believe.
Yeah, but when you asked your expert witness about the Bay of Pigs, the judge overruled her objection.
Be more specific.
All right, more specific. All right. Before you responded that the goal of the UN is to promote social progress and better standards of life and large freedom. And also, you said that it cannot get involved with domestic affairs. So, in certain scenarios, in this scenario, there are certain contradictory elements to the UN Charter, correct?
which scenario?
The scenario where if there's a rebellion within a country, you can't get involved. Correct.
Cannot allow you. I can't give support to one side.
Right. So,
Now,
you
you're
can't
asking me
promote
about-
social progress and large freedom.
Not necessarily, because the government, the established government might be the one representing the social progress, and the other one just might be just promoting.
No, I have a good question, right? All right, keep in mind that.
Can you please finish? The group that's rebelling might not necessarily be for social progress.
All right, now keep in mind you are under oath. Did you ever state that Castro's regime was sometimes oppressive?
I don't remember.
I'll give the floor. I have some more questions.
That part you read didn't you?
What is it?
He said, let me remind you. Please pick him up.
Yeah, no. What did he say?
The supplying of arms to a party and transportation of them represent an act of aggression?
Are you talking from one country to another?
From one party to another, whether it's a country, whether it's two forces, whether it's forces to a country, just what does the supplying of arms and the transportation of them represent an act of aggression?
Well, it depends. That's only military aid. It's not military.
It's only military aid, which of course
Must
kills.
direct the witness,
Well,
please
that's-
answer the question.
But I'd like more specific information. Is it resulting in a war, or is it what? Is it
An
just
act of
for-
aggression, you can interpret it any way, whether it's in a Cold War situation or it's in a war situation.
In a war situation, it would certainly be.
An act of aggression.
It would be an inflammatory thing to give.
Yes, did you answer the question though? Do you think it would be an act of aggression during wartime? During while there is hostile action going on? Can you direct this?
Yes, but I'm not sure what. I don't know which because like the United States, for example, in.
You were an expert on this in the Belgian Congo affair. I mean, why can't you?
But in, like, for example, in World War, when the United States sold.
You want to tell me we went to war?
Yeah,
we went to war both times.
But they weren't planning on it.
But I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to have the questions answered.
No, but you need more specific information.
That's fine.
So you're saying it's at least an inflammatory act and possibly an act of aggression, correct?
Yeah.
You were in the Swedish government in World War II, weren't you, during World War II? You were in the Swedish government during World War II, weren't you?
Yeah.
And you were aware that Sweden was neutral, correct?
Yeah.
So you're saying the United States and Great Britain should have declared war upon you when you supplied ammunition and anti-aircraft weapons to the German government during wartime.
Objection. What is the relevance?
It has direct relevance because she maintained.
Germany during World War II.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. That's what you mean. So, Your Honor, you correct? What is the answer?
Objection. The UN was not in existence during World War II, so I don't see how they can be questioning her.
However, she said under question
under witness for the UN.
under direct.
How they could be questioning him.
That may be so, but the UN, however, under direct examination, they asked her specifically whether the Bay of might be English. Under direct examination, they asked her whether the Bay of Pigs was an act of war by the United States, and she said yes. So I'm only merely clarifying that. I'm not contesting the fact that we're not talking about the UN right now, but they also asked her several other questions, and that's what I'm referring to.
Do you have anything position
It suggests that the UN Charter was not in existence at the time. It was calling her as a witness to this.
But you also asked her questions about the Bay of Pigs affair.
Right, and this has nothing to do with the Bay of Pigs affair.
Yes, it is, because she declared it an act of aggression.
And therefore, any act of aggression anywhere...
We're dealing with active... She said supplying it...
Under the UN Charter.
So far, all that has been proved was that we supplied weapons and we transported them and we gave them training. Now, I'm trying to find out whether that's an act of aggression or not. If she maintains it is, then how come Sweden was new? How come Sweden was internationally recognized as being neutral? I'm trying to clear up some discrepancies, which would seem to me that Mr. Hammerjold is making unfair, biased judgments.
Objection overruled.
Did you answer the question?
Repeat it.
It's relevancy.
Well, repeat it.
Thus, would the United States and the United Kingdom have been justified in attacking Sweden and declaring war on Sweden because they supplied military arms
Because of war.
to Germany during World War II?
Because
You've already declared it's an inflammatory act and it's possibly an act of aggression.
As I said, an inflammatory act that does not mean that A leads to B exactly. The countries are not exactly have to go because of an act of aggression, they don't exactly have to
Yes,
declare war.
But as you well know, Sweden remained entirely neutral. There was almost no discussion of whether its neutrality was in jeopardy at all during World War II. So doesn't seem contradictory to accuse us by merely supplying weapons and transporting them and giving training that immediately we're attacking Cuba, as you stated earlier.
Objection. I don't see anywhere where Hammarskjöld said anything about Sweden.
Under direct examination, we're only comparing different precedents from the past concerning neutrality and the supplying of arms. Now, if she declares mine,
Sustain. The UN was not in existence then. So you're bringing up something saying whether or not the moral value of the attack on Cuba.
whatever.
I want to say something.
Chinese for where's the
Who's going to What's your position? You're just
General Secretary.
General Secretary of the UN?
Alright, if a country is repressed and a revolution occurs within that country to promote freedom, can the UN aid the rebellion?
Say it again.
Alright, if a country, a specific country, is repressed, that is, the leaders of the country is repressing the people, and a revolution occurs within that country to promote freedom, can the UN aid the rebellion?
No.
Alright, now, since the goal is to promote freedom, wouldn't this then go against the spirit of the Charter?
No, because
Objection. I don't see where the UN is barging into communist countries and.
I didn't mention anything about communism, but you did.
Right now.
I didn't mention anything about communism. I was merely setting up.
Well,
I was merely setting up a scenario where
So let's say.
the country is repressive. I mean, but you mentioned that communism. If you think it's repressive, that's okay.
I'm sorry. Let's say repressive.
Thank you.
What's your objection?
Objection.
It's a tricky question.
Because your witness is not capable of answering, go still.
What's your objection?
Sit down.
How's it all right?
I'll repeat the question. Now, since the goal is to promote freedom of the UN Charter, as you stated before, wouldn't then not aiding to promote freedom be against the spirit of the Charter?
as I stated before, you can't aid one part of the country against another.
Right,
part.
I know that. So then answer the question. Since you can't aid the rebellion, but the rebellion is to promote freedom against the repressive country, wouldn't that be against the spirit of the UN Charter?
No, because they may think it's against it's to promote freedom, but
I'm
the
asking
other
you.
part of the country
Okay,
doesn't.
I'm asking you in this scenario if you judged the country to be repressive, okay, according to your own qualifications, whatever, and you judged it to be repressive, and there was rebellion within the country to promote freedom, okay?
Are you setting up a hypothetical situation? Because I never said that it was repressive.
I'm merely setting up a scenario where you deem a country to be repressive and a rebellion occurs within it. Now, since obviously the rebellion would be to promote freedom.
It's a hypothetical question.
It's not hypothetical.
Scenario's brought up again.
I'm setting up a scenario where she deems. I'm not setting up any hypothetical situation. If this, then this.
I never
No,
said it.
describe the scenario.
I'm subscribed. All right, the country's repressive. That's the scenario.
Is that a hypothetical question?
I'm providing the variables. Her diplomatic expertise is necessary.
He has to answer.
The judges want to confer on this and have a, just make a decision.
Give us 30 seconds.
We also have to move along, Your Honors.
I know. This is my last. It's the last line question. This is it. It's important.
Well, I'm waiting for,
What did you say?
you got how many seconds for this? Well, they confer, I guess.
I'll tell you when I should. Scott.
Order.
All right. I
Oh,
see.
the objection, that hand, sustaining the objection.
All right. I'll supply now an actual
On
historical.
the grounds that you created a scenario, and a scenario, you have to be a hypothetical situation. So that's why I'm sustaining the objection. So if you could be more specific, you could bring up a direct historical event.
All right. I'll bring up the Cuban Revolution of 1898 when they revolted against Spain, which is oppressive to them. Now, according to the UN Charter, whose existence then, you would not be able to help.
If it wasn't existent then.
That wasn't fair.
Wait, I'm going to use the slide.
I know.
Vitamin contempt. merely saying that if the laws of the UN Charter apply to that situation, which is giving examples for, would then they be able to do this, and get my questions? I'm saying if the laws of the UN Charter.
And I'm saying because the UN was not in existence at that time, how can you bring in the laws of the UN?
Sustained.
Thank you.
There's no other way to ask the question.
There's no other way to, I mean, Your Honor, you're making my...
That's not a hypothetical.
No,
No, that's the way he's doing it.
I need an example because it was established in All right. I'll supply one when the UN was in existence, when the Vietnamese revolted against the French in the 50s.
Go ahead.
That is during the existence of the UN Charter. Now, the French were being oppressed, but you would not be able to aid the Vietnamese because it was UN can't get involved in mystic affairs, correct? All right. In the 50s, the Vietnamese revolted against the French because the French were oppressive to them, correct? Now, the UN would not be able to get involved because it's domestic affair, correct? All right, now, the Vietnamese were trying to promote their own freedom, correct?
They were, according to them.
Yeah. Now, so then, since the UN couldn't get involved, isn't that going against the spirit of the UN Charter by not promoting freedom?
No, as I said, according to them. Social progress as a whole is between nations. Don't you see? The charter does not say. The charter does not say it will promote social progress for one group, because that one group may be in conflict with another group's idea of social progress. And as I said, we can't get involved in domestic affairs, so we can't pit one social idea of social progress against another. We can merely delegate general.
How about a matter which you might be more familiar with, Belgian Congo? Didn't the UN there get embroiled in internal affairs of the Congo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just for what? 10 to 15 minutes now, you've been holding off Mike saying you can't get embroiled in internal affairs, and you just openly admitted that you actually won a Nobel Prize for doing so.
I did not hear her admit that she won a Nobel Prize.
Let me hear the evidence. You won a Nobel Prize. Are you objecting anyway?
Exactly.
Well.
Could you do that again?
Oh gosh.
Don't you find it contradictory that you keep on maintaining that you're not allowed to get embroiled in internal affairs, that you did so in the Belgian Congo?
Objection. The Belgian Congo was not brought up in direct examination.
So
Once again, expertise. It's a contemporary example as you wish. The UN was in existence, and I believe it ought to be accepted.
It's overruled, because this is, he's like trying to make a point.
Well, now that we've found historical precedent, you want to take
yeah. All right.
I have
Thank you very much, Mr. Ginsburg.
I just like to
Okay, minute recess.
No, it takes 15 seconds.
Okay, 15 seconds.
All right.
Let's try to take the rest.
Assuming that you do have one question on it?
One question apiece.
Depending upon what the
I mean, if she constantly skirts around, we have to reword it. We have one question, but we have to reword it in different ways.
It's only one line of questioning.
One question.
Apiece. One question by me, one question by Alex, and that's it.
Are you comfortable? Your Honor.
One question by me, one question by Alex, and that's it. Right.
Go ahead.
This is, Mr. Councilman, you're exceeding your time.
How much time?
So one Alex, you only have one question. See that you.
Oh, he's got the calculator.
Okay. This deals almost directly with Cuba. If a large group of a country's citizens find themselves opposed to the regime in power, and they cannot achieve any of what they seek by legal means, and the United Nations certainly won't help them. It's hypothetical, but once again,
One thing to state, that's definitely hypothetical.
you're been dead. Okay. In the direct example of Cuba, I don't even know that both please. In the direct example of Cuba, if the large group that found themselves in opposition to Castro were not getting their means fulfilled, they were actually being, many of them were being thrown in prisons, tens of thousands. We have evidence if the prosecution requests it. And the UN would not help, as you've already stated. What alternative did they have except to revolt, just as America had done centuries before?
She's asking for an alternative. This is on the basis of hypotheticals.
It's not an alternative. Once again, we're using our expertise. It was a UN charter and Cuba.
It's not.
That's not how this kind of deals directly with Cuba. Well. God! I see you.
Does that
If a large group finds themselves in opposition, this is dealing with Cuba. If a large group of Cubans find themselves in opposition to the government, have no legal means of doing so, when they of getting their own what they seek in place, the government won't deal with them rationally. They put them in jail in the tens of thousands, and the UN won't do anything about it. Are they justified in seeking revolution?
Yes, so.
They are justified. Thank you. Objection. Also, on grounds if you have evidence that the large population is being suppressed, I would like to know. Do you have evidence that the large population was being suppressed? You legally have the majority was against the government in power.
Are you saying the minority ought to get repressed? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's majority or minority. If tens of thousands of people are being put in prison for political means.
The question was he worded the majority of the people. I did not
say the majority. I never said the majority. I said a large portion.
Well, that's the majority.
No.
Okay. Do you have evidence that a large portion was against Castro? Because if that is not true, then he's misleading the witness.
No, 20 million of 100 million is what I consider a large portion.
I'm asking, do you have evidence to prove this?
Alice is down.
It's not much at all.
No, this is Salinger. Oh, okay. Your name and occupation.
Pierre Salinger, and I am the press secretary.
And could you speak? After the Bay of Pigs debacle, what did Kennedy do, speech-wise, telling the people about the Bay of Pigs and what responsibilities?
He admitted that it was his own responsibility.
And
Objection, leading the witness. What did he do speech-wise? Obviously, leading the witness. Maybe perhaps you could word it differently.
okay.
Yes or no? Just reword it.
Okay.
Leading somebody to speech-wise.
What did Kennedy do after the invasion?
He told the people that that it was his own fault, and he took full responsibility for the Cuban invasion.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to clarify, Kennedy took responsibility for the failure of the Bay of Pigs, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
responsibility for the invasion.
in any of your conversations with Kennedy, did he take responsibility for a failed policy, or did he take responsibility for the failure at the Bay of Pigs?
Objection. Policy was not brought up. All that was brought up was whether Kennedy took responsibility.
At the Bay of Pigs, I'm trying to establish a policy and a revolution.
Overruled.
Thank you. Answer the question.
Uh,
All right.
That's
Yeah, that's what you heard.
Okay.
go
All right.
ahead.
Next question.
Yes.
Did Kennedy take responsibility for the failure of the Bay of Pigs revolution, or did he take responsibility for a failed policy?
Took responsibility for a failed policy.
He took responsibility for a failed policy.
Sorry.
Can I?
The
All right.
very thing.
Can someone take responsibility for something that they did not start?
He was the head of the.
Okay,
he is the
please,
president
no,
of the
please answer my
United
question. Can someone take specific? Okay. Can Kennedy take responsibility for Eisenhower's initiation, preparing, and waging of the Bay of Pigs?
Objection. It's
Okay.
on a, I'm not hypothetical, but it was brought up. Eisenhower was not brought up, and it was a question on Kennedy. And also, it's a moral judgment that they're asking her to make.
Your Honor, under direct examination, the prosecution pointed out that the president of Guatemala and the farmer said that the operation was done under Eisenhower. And my direct examination of Bissell said the plan was started under Eisenhower. Rewind the tape and watch it. I'm bringing up Eisenhower. Prosecution has already stated that the plan was begun under Eisenhower. It was initiated and prepared under Eisenhower. Kennedy was in office for 2 months prior to the invasion.
Listen, I'm saying the grounds that you're asking.
Okay.
The question, that's what the case
Okay.
is.
So, in Kennedy's press conference speech, he said, I take responsibility for a failed policy. They were his words. Could you tell me his words or the word or the sentence or whatever it is that indicates that Kennedy took responsibility? Do you have it? Okay. It's the word.
Can you present evidence this time to support what
She's getting it now.
because I have something here.
Why don't you have
This is a quote. You're refreshing your memory.
No, I was
Bro.
Alex, do you have any? Alex.
Wait a minute. You can. I'm going to... I don't care.
We'll take a brief recess. Witnesses at the bench. All right, go ahead.